Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner who has a product, a service, or a message that you believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind-the-scenes look into the real-world marketing and networking tactics and strategies for getting what you have in front of you to a lot more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and now let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Networking and Marketing Made Simple. Super excited for today's episode for a number of reasons. Number one, this is the first episode of the 2023 calendar year. I am moving into year number 5 of this podcast, which is really mind-blowing, approaching 450 episodes, which again also is crazy to think about that there are so many episodes out there. And, you know, time flies when you're having a good time doing something that you love. And this podcast is something that I truly love, and also love interviewing all the amazing people that come onto this podcast. And the person I have for everyone today, it's not every day you get one of your friends and actually one of your clients on here to talk about everything that they're doing. This gentleman has started his own podcast, and he is very coachable, took my advice, and he said, let's do a podcast swap. Let me come on to yours. You can do an interview on mine. And he's my kickoff episode for 2023. And what I love about his journey, there are so many, I would say, intertwined areas of life and business that continue to reoccur. And I'm going to obviously have him share that with you. But being a 45 plus year professional in the law field, but also now in that being an entrepreneur type of journey itself, you couple into that being a podcast host, having courses, doing coaching. It's just really great to see the journey and the evolution of this very special guest and everything that they are accomplishing. So with all that behind us, Gary Miles, welcome to today's episode.
Wow, Scott, thank you so much for the introduction. I'm really, really honored to be here. I think before I even had any connection with you, I had started listening to your podcast and bought your first of 4 best-selling books.
Well, again, everything comes full circle, as they say. And you go from being a listener to someone's podcast to being a guest on that podcast. And it's awesome to see all of that come to fruition. So, Gary, as I alluded, you have 4 decades plus of experience in the law field, owning a family law practice. And obviously now on the other side of entrepreneurship, having a brick and mortar, but also having an online entrepreneurship owned business. What was it, going way back in the day, what was it about the law profession that really drew you into it? But again, there's 2 directions that people can go. They join a firm as an associate, can work their way up as an associate partner to, full partner. But there's also some people that lay down the groundwork and get the experience of working for someone else in another firm and saying, you know what, I want something of my own. So how did that path unfold for yourself?
Sure. So in terms of why I chose law, I've always had this passion for helping and serving others. And in law, some people look at themselves as fighters, and sometimes lawyers are perceived as causing problems, raising issues, making fights. I viewed myself as a problem solver, as helping my clients find solutions, and that was my passion. I did very, very well in law school, and I clerked in federal court. And with that background, the normal path would have been to go in what we call big law. All the other law clerks went with very big law firms, very prestigious law firms. And I returned to a small law firm where I worked for a little bit and then switched to a different firm, because I wanted to do more litigation. But I knew in a small firm I'd have more control over who I represented, what I did, how I did it, what my day looked like, and ultimately running that firm. So I entered that firm July 9, 1982, my second firm as a junior associate. I've since gone from junior partner to managing partner, And now I'm of counsel to my son who owns the firm today. And I was managing partner of that firm for 30 years because I wanted to have control and independence to run my own business. And law is, it's a service, it's a profession, but it's a business. And there's, dollars and cents involved, bringing in clients, managing costs. I could choose who I worked with. And I'm blessed that during those 40 plus years, I've always worked with simply amazing people. And if I went with a big firm, I would have no control over that. And so many lawyers here are so stressed and overwhelmed by who they work with, by a toxic work atmosphere, by how they're treated. And I've been blessed to not have had those experiences.
And, other people could experience what you have your entire career. It's just, it all comes down to the path that people choose. Now, obviously, doing as well as you did in law school, and then going down that path, looking back to law school and the things that you learned that not only you made applicable to what you did in the law profession and still do, but also just in personal life. What do you feel was one of the biggest lessons or foundational things that you learned in law school that you were able to then apply not only to you as a professional in the law field, but also as an individual in real life?
That's an interesting question. It's funny. I don't think I've ever been asked that question before, but it's something I volunteered with people who are in law school, which is they get so caught up in the stress and the whirling dervishes all around them. And what's the answer to this question? And we got to study and we got to work late. And I think it comes down to having confidence and a more relaxed approach and self-care, because there's 24 hours in a day. And when exams are coming up, law school is different than college. You got one exam, one grade, that's it. You don't know how you're going to do until you get that grade. And so everything rides on that one performance. And so we could work so hard and stay up all night. And I had a completely different path. I would study hard and then stop. And I'd find time to relax so that my mind was fresh when I took the exam. I know you've been very athletic. I know you did different kind of bodybuilding competitions. I don't really know about that exactly. If you're a marathon runner, you can't burn yourself out training before the marathon. You have to have something left in the tank. And I think the same was true for law school. And it's true for work. We can't overwork ourselves where we become very unproductive in what we do.
I think the word productive is a very interesting thing to kind of pivot into, because overwhelm, distraction, obstacles, are always presented in front of us that, derail our efforts, but also steer our vision into a different direction. Looking back at your journey to where you are right now, what do you feel was the biggest obstacle, either from a professional or personal aspect, that you had to overcome that allowed you to continue down this path?
So my biggest obstacle probably came, I guess I'm going to put two. My upbringing, I was very fat as a kid. I wore nerdy glasses and I was very, very, very smart. And the upshot of all that was I was picked on by everyone. No one liked me. No one likes a smart kid because it makes them look dumb. And I wasn't cool. I was very nerdy. And it led to a lot of bad habits like perfectionism and people pleasing, because I wanted to prove that I was good. And coupled with that, I was an active alcoholic up until about 12 years through my practice. And my process in recovery has been truly transformational in how I look at myself, how I handle life, being more relaxed, more serene, more accountable, more full of optimism than fear. And it's just been a huge transition. And it's helped me to understand how many lawyers struggle with fear, people pleasing, worrying about the opinions of others, all of which cause them stress and cause them to not be as happy or as successful as they otherwise could be.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that. I know it's something that, for those that don't follow you on social media, that is something that you openly talk about and share, just because it is a part of your journey. And it is something to highlight, acknowledge, and celebrate, because, again, There's a lot of people that succumb to those addictions and don't know how to overcome them. And there's other people like yourself that lean into it, no matter how challenging or difficult the process may be. You saw the glass half full instead of half empty, and you came out better on the other side. Now, and the other,
I just one comment. I appreciate the compliment, but really it was a gift to me. I didn't earn it. I didn't deserve it. And the reason I share it is because there's so many others that don't know that there are other people like them in the world. And that's where I was. I felt like there's no one like me, and there was no help. There was no solution, and there is a solution, and there are people who can help. So for any of those who are struggling, just know you're not ever alone.
yeah, there's a solution for any problem. And, I relate, I didn't know that about your upbringing. Um, I was bullied and picked on a lot too. I was, I'm a recovering people pleaser. I was a yes kid, a yes guy. I always strayed from difficult conversations for the fear of confrontation or what someone might say in rebuttal. I always backed down very, very easily. And it does shape you in certain ways. And, again, depending upon your life experiences, people can, throw themselves into certain things. It could be addictive things. It could be other healthy things. And for me, I'm grateful for the gym and the lifestyle I chose to live, because not only did it help me gain my confidence, but it helped me find my life path. And much like you, it was to serve and help people. We're both just doing it in two different capacities. And, sharing the vulnerability of one story. And, I'm very open with, my father's incarceration and me having to file for personal bankruptcy. And every time I share that story, without fail, I'll get an email or a message from someone just thanking me for sharing that aspect of my story. Because as you mentioned, everyone thinks that they're going through that alone. I'm the only person that's going through bankruptcy. I'm the only one that is, dealing with alcohol dependency issues or whatever the addiction may be. I'm the only one. No one else out there is like me. And again, I'm not taking away from our individual special and unique qualities and traits, but there are other people out there. That's why there's support groups. That's why there are therapists and there's people out there to help us. That's why there are programs like filing for bankruptcy to enable people to move forward, so it's going back to that principle of there's a solution for any problem if you seek it out. Now, the first 12 years of, more than a decade of your career, it was, spent in that addictive mindset, haziness, and obviously coming out of that, getting clear and focused. No matter what was going on, you were still driven to serve people and to help people. What have you found most gratifying? Because if you think about everything that Gary has done, whether it's the online wellness coaching that you have and sometimes continue to do, the coaching that you do now for other lawyers that are burnout and stressed, how you serve your listeners in your podcast, and even just the traditional brick and mortar law practice, how beneficial has it been for you to be that servant person in the multiple ways that you've done, and what has it kind of brought back to you in your life and career path?
I think for a period of time, I was searching for more money, more dollars in a bank account, paying tuitions, buying cars, buying houses, all that stuff. That never filled the hole. Some of that was necessary. We had bills to pay. But, now when I speak to an attorney who's overwhelmed and stressed, and I can bring some clarity to a situation and help him through that, I feel fulfilled. I feel whole. I feel like I've been of service, and it is gratifying. And it's what makes me sleep well at night. It's what makes me happy. I've learned that money and stuff never, ever makes us happy. There's a portion of it that's good. I know from the family law work I've done, financial stresses can cause huge problems in relationships and for us individually. But once we get beyond those kind of immediate stresses, it never does the job. And that's finding what our passion is in life and chasing it and doing it well. And for me, it's helping others be their best selves, be their healthiest, happiest, most free person.
So with any profession, any industry, we call kinks in the hose that are very prevalent, very visible. And again, it's interesting that obviously you're still highly embedded in the law profession, but outside looking in, you noticed that there were some cracks in the foundation. And, namely, you noticed that a lot of new and even seasoned law professionals were very stressed, straining for business, overwhelmed, all of those things. When in what part of your journey, obviously you've spent a great deal of time on LinkedIn through some of the work that we've done, and you're very proficient at it. You're an amazing networker. You connect with a lot of people. When did it start to become clear to you that there was a need within that law niche that you're a part of, where you're like, wow, there are a lot of law professionals out there. There's a lot of attorneys that really need some help, not understanding how to practice law. That's what they went to law school for, but the mindset around who they are as a person, but also as a professional.
It began when I was still actively practicing law in Maryland, when I worked with what's called the Maryland Lawyer Assistance Committee of the Maryland State Bar Association. We would try to reach out to lawyers and judges who were struggling. And as part of that, we were kind of reaching out to those who were in the, so to speak, the worst circumstances. But as part of that, I learned how prevalent substance abuse, suicidal rates. I mean, this is an amazing statistic. The ABA did a survey, and in the 12 months preceding the survey, 11.9% of the lawyers responding reported they had had suicidal thoughts. Now, if I had suicidal thoughts, I would never have told the ABA. I mean, that's something I'll probably never tell anyone. So 11.9% of the lawyers who responded affirmatively. So what's the real number?
Yeah.
So I saw what stress there was. But it was only when I really downsized from the active practice of law, I still practice law, but not as much, that I began to see how many lawyers, no matter what their level, just are so unhappy and so frustrated, even though they passed the bar, or in the UK and Canada, they called to the bar, biggest day in their life, family celebration, dinner, and 5-10 years later, they're unhappy. Why did I go this way? They're missing something. And a lot of that can be fixed or corrected by having a change in perspective.
So what do you see as the top things that are missing? Because again, we know money can't buy you happiness. And you rewind the tape of that amazing day for that attorney that passes the bar, passes that exam. They can join a firm, whether it's a large or small firm. They're living out all their dreams. The 4 years of undergrad, the 3 years of law school. They pass the bar, they study, and in the States they study all summer. I have so many friends that are attorneys,
right?
And all they're doing all summer, they just study from May, and that test is in July. Those 10 weeks, they're just nose in the books. And as you said, 5-6 years later, they're unfulfilled. So what do you see as the main culprit or main reason why that perspective has suddenly shifted just 5 or 6 years later?
Well, on a daily level, I think it's that they focus on the wrong things. There are things in life that we can change, and there are things in life we have to accept. So if I work for a demanding partner, if I let him get in my head that he's just a pain in the butt, and I'm going to go to work, and the minute Scott tells me to do something, I'm going to say, there goes Scott again. All of a sudden, I've created my own stress. And maybe I'm just using your name as an analogy, but maybe you're a demanding partner, and I'm like, okay, Scott's demanding. That's what it is. And what am I going to do about it? Well, I'll be prepared. I'll work a little harder. I'll expect that that's going to happen, and I just move on. And the other is, people often don't choose the path that they want to be on. And there is a role, and there's so many things people can do in law. Big law firms have so many benefits: prestige, money, honor, recognition. But it's coupled with an extremely demanding work environment and very limited flexibility about what you do. If that's the path that one wants, then choose it. But sometimes people aren't in the lane. They aren't seated in the right seat on the bus. They're not taking the course that they want to take that will find them happiness and fulfillment. And so I think people should always remember, we have a choice. We don't have to be here. We can choose to be somewhere else. And in my contacts on LinkedIn, I found so many attorneys who were unhappy, at a certain firm, they open their own practice and they love it. They work their own schedule. They work for home. They're doing the kind of law they want. They're representing the people they want to work with. If they hire someone they choose they want to work with, and they're all of a sudden fulfilled. And the final thing is to focus on what it's about. And it's about helping and serving others. And if we're drudging away reading documents in a conference and we don't like it, we'll find how you want to help and serve other people, because that's where the fulfillment and peace will come from.
It's exactly the path that my brother-in-law and his best friend and now partner took. They passed the bar. They worked for a huge, huge firm. And within about 6 or 7 months, they said, let's just open our own. And they opened up their own firm. It was just the two of them. And fast forward 6 years later, they have, I think, 8 attorneys now working for them.
Wow.
And again, they opened up a second office, one in Jersey. So one they have people that manage the offices now, and
fantastic.
And again, my brother-in-law and my sister, for that matter, they wanted, work-life integration. They wanted to be there and available and present for my 2 nieces, and they're doing that. And again, to your point, whatever path is laid down in front of you, it's not permanent. So if you're not happy with the path that you're on, you're not happy with your work-life integration, you're not happy with how things are, and all those things that you stated, they're applicable to everything. They're applicable to business, they're applicable to life. And you talk about relationships, right? If there are certain triggers for you, maybe it's not the relationship for you. Maybe it's not the job for you. Maybe it's the wrong company, and nothing is set in stone. Going back to something that we spoke about very early in the episode, there's a solution to every problem. Now, Gary, as we start to wind down, for the audience that is in that realm of being in law, they're an attorney, what are some of the ways that you're now giving back to the law community through, the program that you're creating and also the coaching that you do with them?
The first thing I did was I started, with your suggestion, of course, I started a podcast, which I call The Free Lawyer. Somebody said, why do you call it The Free Lawyer? And lawyers aren't free. I said, well, exactly. But a lot of lawyers aren't free individually, and I want to help them create that personal freedom. And it's all on topics that relate to what we talked about, boundaries, burnout, stress, overwhelm. And it's just my way of getting messages out so that folks know their solutions to every one of their problems they might be encountering. And I started a LinkedIn newsletter with about, 2,500 subscribers on the same topic. But I've now started coaching lawyers individually. I have both a 5-session package and a 10-session package. I give them work to prepare ahead of time. I give them homework afterwards. I give them detailed notes. And we tailor it to whatever their situation is, finding out what their goals are, what their obstacles are, what's holding them back, and what we need to do and change to get them to where they want to be. And I find it so gratifying to help both the legal profession globally through things such as the podcast, but also to help lawyers individually, because so many of them are just so unhappy, and they don't have to be. Like, I can show them how to really enjoy what they're doing and find the fulfillment, that they've been seeking for years.
Well, I love that. And, there's so many ways to give back. And just as you said, podcasts are free to listen to, newsletters are free to read. And, those that are really interested in wanting to take the next step or, take the next leap in their business, that's why you offer your services to those individuals. Now, Gary, if someone is interested in learning more about you, where to find the podcast, how to learn about your coaching services, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
So the podcast is called The Free Lawyer. It's on all the podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, etc. I'm always accessible on LinkedIn. I'm there literally, every day except for Thanksgiving, but almost every day, every work day, and some weekend days. I keep up with all my messages. You can message me there. I have a website at garymiles.net, and folks can email me at gary@garymiles.net.
Awesome. So all that information that Gary shared Obviously, will be in the description of this episode, the link to his podcast, his website, his LinkedIn URL. So you're not going to have to travel too far to find a way to connect with him. So Gary, final question before we sign off. What does success truly mean to you?
Success means to me to have the opportunity to find how I can best be of service to other people and giving myself the freedom to choose to do that.
Love
Because
that.
when I help and serve other people, then I'm where I want to be. I'm very comfortable and very happy.
That's great. And again, just, from myself and Nancy, it's just been so gratifying to see your journey and how you've evolved over the last couple of years working together. And the great thing is it's just the beginning. And no matter how young or how old or how new or how seasoned someone is to their profession and their industry, it's never too late to make a change. And to see that you have a thriving podcast, a brand new coaching program, courses that you're going to create down the line. You have an amazing website that's now built out. It's just really gratifying to see. And we just want to wish you continued success. And again, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Well, I appreciate you and Nancy, because you guys, you had the vision to see where my talents lied, where my zone of genius was, and what I could do to help other people. And I'm forever grateful for that.
Well, we're forever grateful for you for being coachable and taking us up on our suggestions. And again, the rest they say is history. So Gary, thank you again so much for being here today.
Thank you, Scott.
So as always, everyone, wherever you're listening to this to and from, please leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you loved most about the episode. Leave them in the comments, but also any suggestions. We are always open. We want to make sure that we're producing the best content, the most relevant topics that are leaving you and your businesses better. So let us know. So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much again for checking out today's episode. And if you are listening through iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are, please leave me a rating and review. Let me know what you loved, what you would like to see improved, or ideas you have for future episodes. And if you are interested in taking your business to the next level, don't hesitate to go to my website, www.scottaaron.net, where you can schedule a free discovery call with me, where I can learn more about you, your business, what you're struggling with, and how we can work together. And don't forget to check out my wife, Nancy, and mine, our free community on Facebook called LinkedIn Leads for Life. We would love to see you in there. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you, everyone, for your support. Grateful for each and every one of you.